and I'm here to help you live your truth. And today I wanted to talk about how to relax and trust when things aren't going the way that you want them to. So I feel like every single one of us can relate in some way where we've been going through something, whether this is, in your business or your career, whether this is in your relationships, partnerships, whether it's romantic, family, friends, or whether this is like in your lifestyle. And especially in this past year with that dreaded um, thing that's been going on. I don't want to say any of the words because then there's usually like a banner under the video. But with the situation that has been going on globally around the world for all of us, it's a lot of tests towards our patience, towards our ability to trust, and towards our ability to surrender to whatever's going on. So this has been coming up a lot for me recently, and I was talking with a friend about it this morning who's going through it as well. I've been noticing this theme with a lot of clients lately, and so I was like, you know what? We got to talk about it because the biggest struggle and the biggest cause of suffering that I've seen in my own life, as well as in the lives of people around me, is the need to control. And it comes from the ego, and as I talk about this, the ego doesn't have to be, a lot of times we have really negative associations to that word, and we think of it as like, you're a very egotistical person, and so we think the ego is really bad, and it's like, with a chip on your shoulder, like you're better than everyone else. That's not what I'm referring to when I talk about the ego. But when I'm talking about it, I'm just saying like the ego mind, which is a very primitive part of the mind. It's a primitive system, and it's trying to just keep us alive, which is obviously beautiful, but in that it also causes a lot of pain and suffering. And so when we're in the ego, we're creating this desire for control. And we think that we know what's best. We think that we know how things are supposed to work out. We think that we know exactly how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. And we're trying so hard to control that. And a lot of times it creates that desperation. Like I shared about this in previous videos for myself, in my business, I got into a really hard spot in the first year because I was desperately trying to make things happen faster than they could, and I was making these decisions out of fear and like trying to control and being like, I have to do this or it's never going to work, or I have to make this decision or I'm going to be a failure, or this is the only way. And my ego was like clinging to a lot of external things and trying to create a sense of security, a sense of control. And in reality, like I said at the beginning of this video, things happen in our life that we actually have zero control over. We can't predict, we can't plan for. And no matter how aware or no matter how perfectly we've done our process, we still can't control the things around us. And so, as long as we're stuck in this kind of ego mindset and that need to control, we're gonna end up with a lot of suffering and a lot of uh, poorly managed expectations, because we think if I can just control this situation and then I'm going to receive this outcome, we think we have the power to just like make it happen. And sometimes we do, but a lot of times there are other factors at play that we can't control. And so then if it doesn't work out the way we're hoping for, we get stressed or we get overwhelmed or we feel like we're a failure and we beat ourselves up or we get really insecure. So a lot of things can happen from that need to control, that search for it. And what I think is so powerful, what is so helpful, and the purpose of this video is how to relax and trust and kind of lean back in those moments. So, when you want so badly for things to work out a certain way, it's very natural for you to try to cling to it and hold it and control it. Because, like I said, you're thinking you're getting this false sense of security. You're thinking that if I can just control this, I will have that and then it will all be fine. Now, when we come from anything with that kind of desperate energy, a lot of times it doesn't actually work out very well, and we make decisions. We're operating from a lower vibration, like a scarcity place or a lack or the desperate energy. And so when we lean back and like surrender, and leaning back is such a perfect way to describe it because we can visually see, like, instead of me like trying to make it happen and like attach and hold and force, it's like, mm, like, I'm just literally gonna chill. I'm just gonna lean back and like ride the wave and see what happens and trust that if this is meant to be, it's going to work out. And I'm going to have like the download or the clarity in order to make that next step, in order to get in alignment and take that positive aligned action from a place of openness and receptivity and, expansive energy and faith and trust. And when we take action from that place versus that desperate clinging place, everything is so much different because we're taking that decision and we're taking that action from a much more clear and open mind, right? So, I invite all of you to think about whatever's going on in your life right now that you're maybe trying to control. Is there something that you are clinging to and do you like really want to make it happen a certain way? And um, take a deep breath, like thinking about this. Probably first start by tapping into the energy and the emotions it makes you feel, because I can imagine if you're trying to control it and you really, really desperately want this thing to happen a certain way, there's probably like a little bit of resistance, maybe a little bit of anxiety or overwhelm bubbling up in you as you think about it. I know for me, when I'm in this place, literally want to drop everything and anything to jump in and like start making it happen. Like I want to leave everything else that's going on in my life to just hone in on that one thing because I'm like, I have to make it happen right now. Um, and that's not a good emotion. That's not a good feeling to have because it's that fear. It's really coming from fear instead of coming from love. So as you're envisioning this and feeling what comes up in your body, then I invite you to take a few deep breaths and connect to what it would feel like to know that you're fully supported. Breathe into this knowing that it's safe to trust. It's safe to trust yourself. It's safe to trust the people around you involved in this. It's safe to trust your destiny and your purpose. And like, if this is meant to happen, you can trust and believe that it's going to happen for you. And it's safe to trust in a higher power, God, source, creator, universe, whatever you call it. But this is the energy of surrender. This is the energy of leaning back, the energy of faith, the energy of knowing that what's yours will always come to you and you don't have to force it. You don't have to cling to it in order to make it happen. And so, as you're tapping into this energy, um, I invite you to kind of connect to this feeling and allow yourself to like really fill up with how good it feels to just fully trust that it's working out for you. Because a lot of times we don't have this energy in our body. A lot of times we have the opposite. And that's why things like anxiety, burnout, depression, stress, and overwhelm, all of these things can be so common because we're living in that force and living in that need to control. Whereas if you're just in this beautiful, blissful state, open and receptive and trusting that it's all going to work out for you, it might not work out right now in this moment. It might not work out tomorrow. It might not work out as fast as you want it to. But if you can trust in your whole body, in your heart and soul, if you can trust that it is going to work out exactly how it's supposed to and exactly in its divine timing, then you get to enjoy the whole process and you get to really be present. You get to be happy right now in this moment instead of stressed and overwhelmed, instead of controlling. And you get to show up from a much better vibration, a much better alignment, which, little secret, that means it's actually going to show up faster because you're showing up in a place of knowing and full on faith and believing and trusting. And when you're in that vibration, things manifest and attract to you so much faster. So, for everyone who's doing this exercise, if your eyes are closed, you can open them back up. um, when we're in any kind of stress or overwhelm or control, we do tend to make our situation actually way worse. So the more you can bring yourself back into your heart and back into a different level of awareness, then the faster you're going to find that freedom, the faster you're going to be able to shift out of this mind space and this mindset of like doing and forcing and hustling, and you can connect back to your center. And as I said, this isn't about like leaning back and surrendering and never doing any work, but it's about getting yourself into that space first, because when you feel really good and you feel relaxed and safe and you feel like you can trust, then any action you take is going to be 1,000 times more aligned than when you're taking action from this space, that force instead of the flow and the really good aligned action. And so this is a huge, huge shift, a huge um, like way to call in miracles and to decrease a lot of suffering. And as I said, I've been talking with quite a few clients this past week who these things are going on in their life where they feel like they have no control over it because they're like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden this thing happened at my job. All of a sudden this thing happened in my relationship. I don't really know what's going on. I feel like I'm all over the place and I feel like I have no control over anything. And sometimes those things are happening for us because they're trying to force us to lean back and they're trying to force us to realize, hey, you know what? I know you want to control it. I know you wanted it to happen this way, but just trust us. Just believe it's happening how it's supposed to. It's all going to work out. You're going to be fine in the end. It's bringing you the lessons or it's bringing you the growth or the healing that you need right now first. And then we're going to get there. And this is a huge, huge mindset shift, a huge paradigm shift in the current reality we're living in where everyone is feeling forced and hustling and everyone's like chasing after that next thing in hopes that that makes us feel satisfied. But you're only going to feel satisfied for a moment before you want to chase after the next thing. So why not just enjoy it while you're doing it? You can still be chasing, but you can be enjoying the whole process. And if you're an Abraham Hicks fan, you've probably heard that before of like when you're trying to manifest, when you're trying to align with something, the real reason you want it is because you think you're going to feel a certain way when you get it. So you want more money because you think you're going to feel really safe and good and free when you have it. The only reason you want your soulmate partner is because you think you're going to feel whole and loved and supported when you have them. But if you're waiting for an external thing to make you feel that way, when you have that external thing, you're still not gonna be fully internally fulfilled because the external thing always changes. And then there's gonna be like, well, I wish this was different, or I wish I had more money, or my partner's not doing this for me, and so I'm still not fully satisfied. If you can create that feeling right here, right now, which is actually the only thing you can control. We can't control the external things no matter how hard we try. I tried so hard to control things in my business for the first few years, and I ended up with ridiculous amounts of debt, working like 12-hour days, 7 days a week, never taking time off, not taking care of my body, not really meditating or doing the things that I promote. I was really not prioritizing myself at all. I was so focused on trying to control the external and make it happen instead of just controlling the internal. And like I said, then I made a lot of really bad decisions. So the more we get into alignment first, if we trust and know that it's going to work out for our highest good always, then we don't feel like we have to control so much. We feel like we can just trust the process and can enjoy the process. We can feel safe and secure even as we're working towards more money. We can feel loved and supported and worthy even while we don't have a partner. We can create all of those things internally right here, right now, and then that's gonna make it a more enjoyable life, more enjoyable day-to-day things, more enjoyable experiences, and, you're gonna actually attract it so much sooner because you're in alignment with what you want. You're living from the place of the wish fulfilled, you're living from already having it, instead of living from the current reality, which is, "I don't have it, I'm in lack, I'm scared or desperate, or I need to control because I'm afraid if I don't have control, it's not gonna happen." So taking that shift into trust is going to be so, so massive. Okay. If you're finding this helpful so far, please give it a thumbs up. And if you can relate, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. That would be awesome. If you are someone who is like, okay, this is like, I feel this, but I still don't know how to do it. And if your mindset and your thoughts throughout the day are like very anxious, very overwhelmed, or you feel like you're always focused on, needing to force, needing to make things happen, if you're in that control space, or if your self talk is very negative, make sure you check out my free mindset training. It's linked down below in the description box. It's all about breaking free from your old patterns, your old story, your old habits, all the things up here that I started this video talking about with the ego mind, which is like really trying to control and make things happen a certain way. And this mindset training is helping you see that you can reprogram your mind and you can shift your mind into a new pattern, into a new way of being. So I was the most anxious person and I wanted to control everything. And I was terrified of feeling out of control and feeling like, oh my gosh, these things are happening to me and I don't know how to fix them or change them. And it made me like that. I wouldn't say like a control freak, but I was not the best, like, I really struggled if things didn't work out the way I wanted them to. It created a lot of extra suffering and pain and emotions, and I was so fixed on, like, how I wanted it to happen that if it didn't happen that way, I felt really like a failure, or I felt insecure or unworthy, and I beat myself up for it, and I'm sure I'm not alone. Again, feel free to comment below if this is you, if you can relate to that, because 'cause you're not alone either. And it's through this mindset work, it's through learning how to shift these patterns and understanding that, like, I'm actually way more than my mind. And I don't have to live in that box. I don't have to think that same way. I can shift. I can believe that I'm supported. I can trust that even if it doesn't feel the best or even if it didn't work the way I wanted it to, I can trust that it's bringing me something, some kind of lesson, and something that's going to help me grow and evolve. And one day I'll be able to look back at this moment and see that it actually was perfect because it's part of the stepping stone that got me to where I was meant to be. That perspective shift will change everything in your life. I talk about this all the time with my clients of finding that silver lining in the struggle. If you can see that those things that are going wrong are here to teach you instead of feeling like stuck or negative about it, if you can find the lesson and be like, oh, what's that trying to tell me? Or what am I learning now that I'm going to do differently? Then it allows you to show up in a totally new way and to continue to feel empowered, and this is actually when you start to feel in control because you see that no matter what goes on externally, no matter what happens to you, you still feel empowered. You still feel like, hey, I know how to handle this, or hey, I know what I'm going to do next, or oh, that didn't work, so I'm going to try something else. But you're able to come at it from a much more relaxed and receptive place, a much more confident place than if you're like, "Ah, like, these things aren't working, nothing's going right, and, like, I have no control, and I'm scared and fearful," and all of this. So, um, positive energy that comes. Thank you so much. That's so beautiful, I appreciate it. So, really seeing that no matter what is going on around you, and no matter how hard you try, the only thing you can ever control 110% is you. The only thing you can ever control 110% is your emotional response to what's going on around you. So we can't control if trauma happens. We can't control if pain happens. We can't control if debt or breakup and heartbreak or, anything. We can't control if that happens to us. All we can control is how we respond. And the more you can trust, the more you can embody this full body knowing that it's actually happening for you and it's going to make you stronger, it's going to teach you the lessons you need to learn, it's going to bring you so much growth and expansion. That is when everything changes. That's when you take your power back and you actually are like unfuckwithable. Who is it that says that? Someone says that. I don't swear much, so that's why I laughed because I'm like, "Ah." But that's when you become that because no matter what's happening, you're still in your center, you're still fully aligned. So, I'm gonna leave this video here. Thank you. I'm so glad you find this video helpful. Please feel free to share, you guys. I'm going to post this so that it's on my feed after as well. If you haven't, yes, please like, share, and subscribe. And reach out on Instagram. It's real, REAL, Kara Michelle, spelt like my YouTube channel, Kara Michelle. So reach out, send me a DM, let me know if there's a specific topic. You can either comment that down below or send it to me on Instagram because I am going to be doing these most likely each day. We'll see how much I stick to that, but I really want to be on here more, sharing different things, perspective shifts, tools, all of that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. My love back to you, and I hope you all have an incredible day, and I will see you later.